Alright everyone, Tommy Robinson has just been banned from Facebook and Instagram. This is totally coincidental with the timing of Panodrama, has nothing to do with that. No, according to this article and according to those sites, it has to do with him repeatedly calling for violence against Islamic people. Now, what examples of calls for violence against Muslims he actually made is not apparently forthcoming. That's because, let's face it didn't fucking happen. Under the UK's auspices, the government there will prosecute people for things that are total, like here in the United States we'd consider perfectly acceptable. Like a criticism of Islam is for some reason over there classed as incitement of violence or something, and it's really, really weird and kind of dystopian and stuff. But let me put this plainly. Instagram and Facebook did not ban him for calling for violence. Because I've gone through his material myself. He's never called for violence. That's the whole fucking thing. He has criticized Islam in a doctrinal sense. He's also criticized like certain imams and stuff like that. I have never seen a single mention by him of anything that would rise to the level of incitement. Not on any platform, and I've kept up to date in the wake of his imprisonment, especially the kangaroo court sort of, hit job they did on him to try to keep him silent, threaten him, and scare him, I guess, into complacency. After that, I kept up a little bit more with what he had been posting and saying. I mean, I don't use Facebook, or Insta really, but I keep up with the YouTube content and generally everything else, because you gotta understand the lamestream media hates Robinson because he's an independent journalist. An accredited one too, by the way. He's a major competitor of some of their groups, and so naturally, if he throws his gum on the sidewalk, it becomes headline news for these people because they've devolved into tabloids. I am sure they would have given specific examples if there were specific examples to give, but there are none. Because no, what ended up happening is he releases Panodrama, he starts fighting back against the BBC, he links the British Broadcasting network there, the BBC itself, with a group that is blatantly partisan and has actually encouraged violence, like literally supports Antifa. He does that in front of a crowd of thousands of people. He's got tens of thousands more watching it on those platforms. It's an attempt to shut that up. It's an attempt to keep people from knowing Panodrama is a thing. It's an attempt to keep people in the false reality, which is that Tommy Robinson is a virulent bigot and he hates everyone. He wants to kill people or at least do them harm and intimidate them, none of which is true, and that the BBC is objective and that Hope Not Hate and these other groups tied with them at the hip are non-biased. But none of that's true. It's a false reality. But that false reality, once it begins showing cracks, they've got to do everything they can to try to re-cement it. And so that what will end up happening, several people have mentioned, oh, Streisand effect, this will just make him more popular. Yeah, probably. Because he's still on, link in the description, Tommy Robinson has a Bitchute channel. Good luck getting them to censor him off. They've already tried a dozen times to destroy sites like Bitchute, Gab, Minds, and so forth. They try to prevent him from normal payment processing. Banks won't work with them. They get advertisements pulled. They try to get them deplatformed off their registrars. Everything under the sun, over and fucking over again, because someone who has been labeled wrongthink by the corporate media, a bunch of for-profit fucking entities, or that work with craptivistic groups that are blatantly partisan, people keep getting constantly kicked off. Trump comes out the other day and points to tech censorship. Now, the one thing that I hate most, and this is mostly within the US, because over in Europe it's like censorship is such a part of life, nobody apparently cares. Like when Trump talks about it, or any of these other people, it's like, oh, censorship of conservatives. Well, it's not just conservatives. Some of these people blatantly aren't conservative. Tommy Robinson's not really a conservative. He's more of a dedicated, sort of vaguely nativistic, populistic individual, sort of a working class hero type. He's basically like the non-left-wing John Lennon, like maybe Lenin before he got assassinated, which is probably why he got killed, or something like that. The funny part is, isn't his last name actually Yaxley Lennon or something like that? It's the funniest shit ever. Yeah, he's kind of similar. In the activistic, in the sense of being part of a new anti-establishment, countercultural movement that is tired of propaganda. It really is. We are replicating in that fashion sort of the late 60s right now. We sort of are. People are constantly blanketed with propagandistic terms like, you are hateful, you are a bigot, you called to violence even though you didn't. It's an attempt to screw up people's minds and control what they think. And it's all at the behest of several very intrinsic groups of people. Big corporations that want to keep their profits going. They're terrified of populists the same as they are progressivism. Now, of course, progressivism, I think, would degrade away into socialism very quickly and destroy our economy, but it is, they feel it's a threat. The neoliberals don't like it very much, so they try to censor and shit. So big corporations, number one. Remember, that's where most of the political cash comes from in the Western world. Number two, the MSM. Now, that's sort of the same thing as saying a big corporation, but I mean these dedicated so-called news groups. They supposedly conduct journalism, but they never investigate what they should be investigating, which is public officials being corrupt or whatever. They would rather investigate some fucking YouTuber and smear them all day, and then try to get them deplatformed so that they can't raise enough money to fight back. That's ultimately what that's about. And then, of course, the financial structure. The lamestream political establishment tied in with the banking system. And some people have even gone so far as to spread the conspiracy theory that that is an anti-Semitic remark. I'm like, what the fuck are you trying to say? You're the one that's making like a weird ethnic statement, I think, with that one. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter who's being corrupt. Who fucking cares? It's still censorship. It's still suppression. Trying to drag in all the usual stupid wedge issues they use for every other purpose into this debate isn't going to work very well. I think it's, people have become desensitized to their bullshit. We find out, for example, the SPLC is working with PayPal to deplatform people. Yes, this certainly, it's not partisan at all. Just look at their response. They might end up getting sued by the Covington kids. They just had to settle out with one dude. They called him an Islamophobe, even though he's a Muslim himself. Yeah, I'm sure they should be doing the fact-checking. Yes, they should be the gatekeepers of the banking system. That's fucking crazy. It doesn't make any sense at all. No, show me a specific example to these media outlets. Show me an example of Tommy Robinson inciting violence against Muslims. I want an actual example, and I don't mean, well, he criticized him this way. This could cause his fans to be rowdier. No. I'm not talking about that. And I'm not talking about, he filmed outside of a courtroom trial. I'm not talking he criticized Islam. Perfectly, even under the UK's draconian anti-free speech systems, as far as I know, criticism of organized religion is still okay. Show me an example where he attempted to incite violence, either against a person for being Muslim or against Muslims in general. You're not going to be able to find me an example. That's what I believe. If you could, they would have put it in the fucking article now, wouldn't they? They would have loved to. They say, look at this crazy shit that this evil far-right-wing Nazi spews all day. He should be bit. And then they point out, he's still on YouTube. It's sort of like a dog whistle. Here, go after this next. Try to pressure Google to kick him off too, because they don't want Panodrama to exist. But it's on Bitchute. I can re-upload it anywhere I want. Who's going to do shit about it? UK law doesn't apply to me. I'm in the US. So good fucking luck. Probably at this point, the UK would probably just block my channel like France and Germany and some of these other totalitarian states do. People in Saudi Arabia have an easier time accessing my content than people in France. Don't you think that's a fucking little bit of a weird thing to happen? Don't you think it's a little bit weird that somebody in Iran can go to my channel but someone in Germany can't? Don't you think it's a little bit weird that there are certain areas in China apparently that are semi-excluded from just their intranet? People there have subscribed and talked to me and seen my channel. I can look at it on my analytics and everything else. They can access my content, but someone from Italy can't? Isn't that a little bit weird to you? Or the Czech Republic, sometimes Poland, although not every day for some odd reason? Yeah, you've got a lot of draconian shit going on there. I wouldn't be surprised if the UK tries to eclipse them all. And then we got Macron saying, I think that people who are found guilty of hate speech online should be kicked off all social media forever if they're in France. What are these people doing? It's an attempt to exert control. They're losing control, and they want to keep it because it gives them a lot of money and prestige, and it strokes their egos. It's a natural human tendency, and there's nothing really wrong with that greedy tendency as long as it's tempered, which is why we have to fight back. So yeah, I have no problem with Tommy Robinson. I've never seen him incite violence against anyone. I've seen him criticize Islam. I don't care if he criticizes Islam. You should be able to criticize whatever fucking religion you want. The fact that the UK wants to crack down on him and now like Silicon Valley is going to ban him. Give me an example of his so-called bigoted speech. I would love to say, and I don't mean like, 6 years ago he said, I don't fucking care. As far as I know, Facebook and Instagram don't have a rule in place. If you said something 6 years ago, we're going to ban you for it. As far as I know, that's not the case. I'm sure he's very meticulous in weeding through his older posts from his EDL days, so I'm not exactly concerned. No, he hasn't incited violence. I think that that's bullshit. I still fondly remember when they doxed him in the first place and pretended like it was a red letter day. That's what so-called journalism has degraded into. But if you do it to them, if you do it to the pundits, all of a sudden it's an attack upon free speech and the free press, and oh my God, it's a dog whistle to have us killed. Yeah, what's good for the goose, I guess, has been good for the gander, and it worries these people a lot. That's about all. Peace out.